Hi everyone, welcome to the Girl Got Faith channel. My name is Belle, and in honour of one of my favourite days of the whole entire year, International Women's Day, I've taken over this channel to hopefully shed a bit of fresh light, give a bit of fresh perspective on why we exist and what God thinks about us. And so to do that, I want to drag you way back to our beginning, way back to kind of, I guess you could call it our origins story, way back to the beginning of time, to the beginning of the Bible, Genesis 1 and 2. So those first two chapters of the whole Bible are full of poems and stories about how and why God created everything that exists. Why he created the universe, how he created the world, and that includes humanity, that includes us. God creates a man, he creates a guy, he calls him Adam, and for the first time God says, oh, this isn't quite right. It's not that Adam wasn't quite right, but it wasn't the full picture. God said it's not good for this man to be on his own, and so he creates a woman. But what he actually says he's going to create is, I will create a helper suitable for the man. Now, if you are anything like me, anything at all, then maybe when I spoke those little words that God spoke right at the beginning of time, then maybe your heart sank a little bit. Like mine used to. I was like, a helper suitable? A suitable helper? Is that seriously it? Is that seriously what God sees me as? Is that seriously what he had dreamed up when he made me, when he made women, when he made my friends and my family? How can that be? Is that all I am? I had this idea like, am I seriously just some kind of assistant to somebody else? Am I seriously just supposed to like carry someone's bags? Like this was all the stuff that was going on in my mind, and I just couldn't put that little phrase, a helper suitable, I couldn't put it together with the women that I knew, with the powerful and strong and influential and compassionate and brave and bold and vibrant women that I knew. That didn't define them, that didn't explain them. And also I couldn't put those two words, helper suitable, together with God, with the God that I knew, with the God who gave me dreams and ideas and kind of vision and opportunities, with the God that told me to be braver and to risk a bit more and to go for things that I never thought I could go for. I couldn't put that intention, I couldn't put those words together with him either. And so I was left kind of stumped, to be honest, and a bit confused, and if I'm being totally honest, just between you and me, a little bit angry with those words. So for a long time I just ignored it. I just ignored those words, and that's kind of hard. I study the Bible for a living, so to avoid parts of it is kind of tricky, but I gave it my best shot until eventually I decided that I was going to stop ignoring those two words and I was going to dig into them. Like meet them face to face and see what I could find. And so the first thing that I did was that I read the original words, the original language. Now I read the Bible in English. I'm an English speaker, so it makes sense. But the Bible, the first half of the Bible, what we would call the Old Testament, that was actually written in Hebrew, in the Hebrew language. And so the words helper suitable in the Hebrew language are actually Ezer Kinajedu. Ezer Kinajedu. Those are the words that God speaks at the beginning of time. Ezer Kinajedu. And I just want to break those open for you because my mind was blown when I did it for myself. And I just want to let you in on it. So Ezer, let's start there. Let's start with the word that we translate as helper. Helper. I will make a helper. Women being called a helper. So the word Ezer then in the Hebrew language, it's used 21 times in the Old Testament, 21 times in the first half of the Bible, and 16 of those times are used to describe God. 16 of those times God is called an Ezer. So when we translate it as helper, we may be missing just a tiny little bit of the point. You see, God is called an Ezer when he is defending his people, when he's rescuing them, when he's fighting for them, when he's making a way for them where they can see no way out of a situation. when he is putting everything on the line to help them and to provide for them, to guide them, in those instances, God is labelled an Ezer, just like us. And so it seems to me that that word, Ezer, is not a word that means weaker than anyone or less than anyone or, you know, below anyone. That is a word filled with strength and power and vibrancy. It literally means to surround, to defend, to cherish, to teach. It is a word that is rich and it is deep and it is powerful, and it's that word that God calls us a power, a strength. And then let's go to the second bit then. Let's not stop there. So we have Ezer, which means helper. Then we have suitable in the English, which translates to mean kinajedu in Hebrew. And in Hebrew, that word kinajedu literally means to parallel something, or to like correspond to something, or in its simplest and most basic form, to equal something. So what we translate to mean a helper suitable in Hebrew can perhaps more accurately be translated to mean a power to equal. God looks at the world, he looks at men, he looks at everything he's created, and he said, I will make a power to equal. That's a pretty big deal, isn't it? That's a pretty big deal. It was a big deal then, and it is a big deal now. And that probably defines you a little bit better, I would say. A power to equal. And the thing is that can look billions of different ways. In fact, it does look billions of different ways. Right now on the earth, there are billions and billions of Ezers walking around doing it in their own way. And that is without even thinking about the people who came before and the wonderful women who will come after. Right now, there are billions of women being Ezers in their own world, in their own way. And that includes you. You are this in a way that no one else in history ever has or ever will be. No one else brings to this world what you bring. No one even comes close to it. God looked at the world right at the beginning of time and decided that it needed women in general. And in much more recent history, he looked at the world, everything he had created, and he decided that it needed you specifically. You to be an Ezer Kinajedu, to be that for everyone in your world, to be that for the people around you, for the world itself, and to be that for yourself. It's who you are, it's why you were made. That is your origin story. That is the baseline of what women are. That is the voice and the words that we need to let define us. Any other voice that tells you that you need to be smaller, quieter, and less than you are, trust me, that's not God's voice. Thank you for watching this video. A very, very happy International Women's Day, and let's all celebrate it knowing exactly who we are, Ezer Kinajedus, and exactly what God had in his heart and his mind when he dreamed us up.